We have been given the scientific knowledge, the technical ability, and the materials to pursue the exploration of the universe. To ignore these great resources would be a corruption of a God-given ability.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
I can't imagine what one must feel like when knowingly making an excursion onto a frontier that's not known to anyone. I'm thinking of the first humans that might have become seafarers, that have ventured out onto the expanse of the ocean, not knowing what might lie beyond.
I feel like I'm just a little speck in everything. Do we deserve to go to space? Are we ready to go to space? Are we ready to explore and live in space?
If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, or even a year ago, I would have said, I think that it's one of two of the most likely ways our species could survive. I wonder if we will ever, in any meaningful way, get off the planet. I hope we do, but I don't know.
It feels like not our territory, you know? I don't think we should invade a space that isn't ours.
I don't trust humans in general, so I think that wherever we do go, we are going to cause some damage, but it will benefit us, which is kind of our motivation to do anything anyways.
I think space travel is one of those things that just, it calls to people. It has to do, I think, with our sense of exploration and wonder. You know, it's what's out there, what can we do, how far can we go? Movie makers and people in entertainment will kind of take ideas from the scientific community and say, like, what's really out there but something that we think may happen in 50, 80, 100 years. And they'll take this idea and they'll make it real.
Science fiction hooks to futurism. Futurists are people who try to not so much predict what's going to happen next, but thinking about the technologies that are emerging, how those technologies might shape the future.
My work may one day contribute towards this thing, and I've just seen a movie about it. I've seen something that inspires me. I think that really is absolutely important. And a lot of people studying physics and physicists and engineers will watch movies and you'll say, the joke is movies become less realistic because you kind of you know the physics of it and you say, oh, well, that's not real, that wouldn't happen.
The tale of the weird and the strange reaches into the very heart of us. The fascination with science fiction goes back to our fascination with the unknown and what might happen. But we get a kind of vicarious taste of what that might be like. For me, story and art is kind of like a laboratory where we perform thought experiments. If you had a human in this situation and then this happened, what would you do next?
There is definitely something to be said about sort of the enthusiasm it brings, the new generations of people who will, kids who will see it and grow up and say, I want to do that. I want to, study this, study that, build something. It's very important.
One of the fundamental things about us is that we are pattern recognizers and meaning seekers. So we We perceive patterns in nature and we try to understand them. That need to understand is connected to the religious impulse.
I wouldn't consider myself religious, but I think it definitely has the ability to make people question sort of where do I come from and what is this all about? Because it certainly is, you know, if anything, it's larger than us. It's definitely bigger than us.
We want to realize how small we are, but here on Earth we're 7.5 billion, however many, and some people will recognize that we're just a little tiny speck in the cosmos, but others will see, well, we have Earth, so why not have everything else?
I definitely do not think we're alone. I think there's something else out there.
I think thinking that we're alone in this universe is very self-centered of us. You know, it's assuming we are the only intelligent species out there is, yeah, it's very full of ourselves.
There was someone named Enrico Fermi who was working in the 50s on nuclear physics.
Fermi, then at Columbia, immediately saw the possibility of a chain reaction building up, as he explained it himself in a lecture given later.
We knew that atomic energy was potentially capable also of peaceful application. One of them is the possibility of producing large-scale amounts of energy with a fuel of very little weight.
He and some colleagues were at lunch one day, and he came up with this question, which I'm sure he's not the first person to ask it, but he said, you know, the universe is so big, why haven't we met anyone else? It's sort of become this huge paradox called the Fermi paradox in the field of physics and astronomy.
One way of reading the math suggests that there should be a lot of intelligent species in the universe, and there are several possible answers to that question.
One idea is that there is a whole galaxy around us that's teeming with life, and they've said, you know, these humans, they're too primitive. We can't talk to them yet. We have to just kind of create this bubble around them. Nobody go there, nobody go to their planet. Let's let them evolve a bit more and become smarter, and then we can start interacting with them.
If there are other intelligent species, they don't need to be evenly distributed through space and time. It's possible that other intelligent beings, we might miss them because they are too far away in time or space or both. It might be that the conditions for producing life like us are so complicated that we are really rare, possibly even unique.
I think it's inevitable that there's life in this galaxy, in a galaxy. We can't possibly be the only ones alive here.
It would be quite the anomaly that we are the only thing, and this is the only Earth that has habitable life. And like I said, we haven't been far enough out to actually study whether there's other life out there or life can live out there.
You know, it's an interesting time, especially in this country right now. You know, space exploration is something that I hope brings people together, you know?
Yeah.
It's something to root for.
As we think about who and what we are, I think it's important to think of the scale, the whole context.
Is greed a factor? Does greed of owning space, of owning the title of the first to go to space, or the first to colonize Mars?
Exploration, you know, sort of taking life by the reins and really reeling it in. I think space travel is sort of the next frontier for man. I think it adds a lot as far as competition goes. You know, like you have these big corporations nowadays sort of fighting over who can get what, and you have a lot of untapped resources out in space. So I think it's going to be great as far as, you know, what's available to us.
Why are we spending money on this when there are so many other problems on Earth?
I feel that expansion is not necessary.
The safety here
is something that I like.
I know of the harm that we can do as a species, given what we've done to our planet.
It's only really when you dig into not only the history of how these things have paid off, but what we're doing right now. You have fields like biology and physics, and they don't, the way we learn them in high school and even college is they're separate, but these things are connected. And the more you know about one thing, it will help you over here. It is almost always better for the whole population, for everyone. But I would say, yeah, I might be biased, but I absolutely do think that we should expand and go out and try to go to other planets and see if we can live there and see what else there is.
Whether it's the rings of Saturn, or the blue of Neptune, or a nice view of the sun, a view of the Ceres asteroid belt. I just want something to look out on.
I want to look at the sky. One of the things that really interests me is skies on different planets. So the moon, obviously, the atmosphere is like an inch thick or something, maybe less than that. There's no sky there. Mars has a sky. It is pretty sometimes. It kind of alternates between red and blue, and they actually have clouds on Mars, which is something I found out pretty recently. I thought that was super cool. I would want to know what the clouds look like. I would want to know the color of the sky. Venus actually has a really nice sky. It's pretty dangerous. You don't want to go on the surface, but it is pretty. I would try to see if there are any like rings. Like Saturn's rings, probably one of the most beautiful things in the solar system. I think the color of Neptune is the best thing. Yeah, I feel like you can already tell just from the way I'm talking about it. I would be just thrilled to be there.